One question on the multifamily side.
Yeah.
So I know all these cap rates are based on the cash purchase prices, but if we bring the investors and investor returns into the picture, which of these formulas would be more convenient to see what investors would get, or how? I say, does it really make sense, this deal based on investor returns of 10% or 12% or 15%? Which one would you use this to evaluate that?
So a cap rate is just going to give you an idea of the value of a property, right? So if in the southern section of the city, things are running at a 10 cap, and in the northern part of the city, things are running at a 5 cap, the exact same building will sell for double the price in the uptown part than it will in the downtown part. So cap rate is really, I mean, the way I look at it, it's really just a multiplier. It's what you use to underwrite your deals, but it's not the end all. At the end of the day, it's your cash on cash return for yourself or your cash on cash return for the rest of your investors. So we have a video, and I'll try and find it. I'll send it out to everybody that kind of explains it in a little bit more detail. I will be honest with you, when I started looking at cap rate and saw that formula, it took me a little, maybe I'm not that bright, but it took me a little while to kind of figure it out. So if for some reason you didn't quite get it, don't worry about it. It comes over time and stuff like that. You might have to look at it and play around with it 4, 5, 6 times or something like that before it finally clicks. Just remember that if you have 2, you can always find the third one. But yeah, cap rate, more of a multiplier, and you're really going to use that to just value the property.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, but it doesn't tell, like, when we is a DSCR better ratio to see if it would meet the investor returns, or? So
it's really a little bit of an art, right? So usually using all 3, right? However, one of the things that will kick you out is if you have lower than a 1.25 DCR, you're probably not going to be able to get financing. I mean, some places, will get down to like 1.2, even though I suspect in today's market, they may be even looking at a 1.3. But if you underwrite a deal and the DCR is 1 or 1.1, you're basically done, right? There's no point in underwriting that because you're not going to be able to finance it unless you get owner finance. And even then, it's a little bit risky because your mortgage payments are almost equal to the money that comes in every month.
Yeah.
But yeah, DCR is important, cap rate's important, and depending on where you are in your journey, either cash on cash return or cash flow.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And also, when this is up on YouTube, you can kind of watch it a couple of times to get a better idea of how to figure out cap rate. All right, Jane and Sharon, if you guys need a bio break or something like that, obviously feel free. And then we'll start probably in like 5 minutes or so, like at 33 after 7. Jane and Sharon, is that okay?
Yeah.
Perfect. Sounds good.
Good deal. Good deal. How is it down in Sarasota?
It's beautiful today. It's like 70 degrees, breezy. Gorgeous.
Right. It's actually 75 in Maryland. It's actually warmer up here.
Wow.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. Yeah. So, hey, you don't need to be down there.
It was beautiful. I took the dog out for a walk. Everybody,
it was
stuff like that.
It was perfect. Could not be better.
Yeah, not too hot, not too cold. Very nice. So, and I know when it's like 20 degrees up here and you guys are in Sarasota and it's still 72 or 73, it'll be a different story.
You know it. That's why we moved. No more snow.
Sure.
Sometimes in January it gets chilly here and we complain to the people up north and they're like, get out of here. They get so mad at us. It's like
we had to turn the heat on once this year, I think.
It's like it's 52 degrees and they're like, it's snowing and 20 degrees down here. They don't want to hear it.
I have a friend of mine that lives in San Diego, kind of in the same situation, and they had a cold snap. and we're doing a Zoom call, and she has like fingerless gloves, right? So she can still type, but she's got gloves on and like a blanket over her lap. Because I guess the insulation, a lot of these houses, even though they do have heat, the insulation is not something they really do too much with, maybe. I don't know, maybe it's an older house, I don't really know. But yeah, she was complaining because it was about that. It was about 52.
Oh, wow.
It does, like in the house, it's chilly when it's 52. It is chilly. Because it's like you don't want to always use the heat here. You
Right,
put it on in the morning to get the chill out of the air and
right.
much
And you guys probably left all your sweaters behind. You don't even own a sweater now, right?
Yeah, we used to laugh at people that we had friends down here and we're like, we'll never be like that, but your blood gets thin or something. I don't know. And then
Yeah.
you're wearing a sweatshirt and they're making fun of you now.
Right.
because we would go swimming in the ocean all year long here, and
Right.
now we can't. And up north, we would in February we'd do the polar bear plunge and jump in the Chesapeake up there.
Right.
Now I can't even imagine.
Yeah, I'm sure. So I'm cold all the time. I'm just, I run, I guess, what would I run? I guess I would run cold all the time.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I don't know if it would change if it went down to Sarasota or not, but I'm sure we'll find out here in the future. Coming down and visit you guys. We'll do a class down there or something.
Oh, yeah.
Just for the opportunity to fly down and hang out with you guys and hang out in the sun and check out your studio and all the other good stuff.
Yeah, that'd be
Absolutely.
great.
That would be
That'd
amazing.
be great. We should do that definitely. In the winter time up
In the
there, because it'll still be nice here.
So like January, February, something like that would be awesome.
Yeah,
All right.
February is really nice down here.
The what?
February's really
Yeah.
nice
Beautiful
down here.
here, February,
I'm
March.
sure.
Then
what
we'll
is-
go do something fun.
Isn't like one of the most beautiful beaches in the country, like down in Sarasota?
Yeah, Siesta Key. That's
Yeah,
what
is that
happened
what
to
it is?
us. So friends of ours lived here and they took us to Siesta Key. We never went home.
And we were, it was like the sand itself looks like powder. It's like the consistency of powder, and it's
Really?
white. And then the beaches or the ocean is like that blue green.
And they're
Right.
so wide, the beaches there. It's beautiful.
We enjoy it. It's
And the sand is weird. It's never hot. Like it could be 100 degrees and the sand is still very cool and
Really?
weirdest
wow.
phenomenon. But yeah,
I
you
guess
can-
because it's so fine and it's white, so it reflects the sun, and it's really,
Oh.
really fine. It's different. I've never felt sand like that. And like in around Christmas time, we'll get on the beach and we'll say, "Look, this is our snow."
Right. Well, I'll make sure I put Siesta Key on my to-do list when we come down and see you guys. So
Absolutely.
We'll take you different places. You'll love it.
yeah, absolutely. So all right, so we're at 7:32. You guys want to do the intro? You want me to do the intro? What do you feel comfortable doing?
You go ahead.
Okay.
We'll switch
Okay.
it up.
So welcome everybody. I know some of you guys stayed over from the Multifamily Teaching Tuesday, and to those that came specifically for this and missed that, welcome. This is Teaching Tuesday. It's brought to you by the Virtual REI Academy, which is something that we built for residential. It's got about, I think, 15 investors that are full-time investors that actually have taught and put together courses. And the main thing we wanted to be able to do there was not only provide value, but really explore other strategies outside of just, rehab, wholesaling, or BRRRR, because there's so many ways to acquire or get control of properties that we wanted to be able to provide that for people. Because when you're starting out, you just don't know. So we encourage you to check it out. Jane and Sharon are a huge part of the Academy team. If you go to the website, you'll see their picture on there, not mine or Nicole's, which is fantastic. So, and they have been in the business for a while now, have done over 100 deals, a lot of them virtual, and they know a lot of the strategies. So they're able to look at a property and say, something, I've got all these tools in my toolbox, whereas somebody else may say, gee, I only do rehabs, I need to walk away, but they can fit anything into anywhere for the most part. So they're going to talk about scope of work today, and I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you for that great intro. Yeah, we do. We're really getting into a lot of options now. because the market's changing. You can get houses a little bit cheaper. So, or really, there's so many different creative structures with obtaining houses and getting into the real estate realm. It's a lot of fun. Today, we're going to talk about scope of work, which is an agreement or a contract that you have with the contractor that kind of spells out the performance and describes the performance that you want the contractor to do. You have different caveats and things in there. Like one thing we do is you have a section where you describe all the work that you want done with the house and all, and then another section where the contractor gives his information, his references, and we actually have the contractor give a time frame. We say, how long is it going to take to do this? Tell us a comfortable and a reasonable time frame for you. And we even add an extra couple weeks, 2-3 weeks to his end time, so that it's, we make it fair for everybody, make sure that he's comfortable, he or she's comfortable with it. And then if it's things that aren't in the contractor's control, or there's no change order that was created to change the scope of work or to change the time frame, then if every day that they go over, we charge them like $50 to $100 a day. So that's one way to keep them honest and make sure they're doing the work punctual and on time and do what they say they're going to do.
And if it's like, and one of those unforeseen things would be like a hurricane. So like we were in the midst of a rehab, and actually the rehab was done. The house went to market. It was under contract. And then of course, Hurricane Ian came. So it wasn't a lot of damage on that particular house, but that was something that was out of his control. So if that would have been happening during the rehab and something happened, that wouldn't have been held against the contractor. But if it's just something that their guys aren't showing up to work, or they didn't feel like doing something, or those kind of things, then they're going to get penalized, and that'll keep them on a time contract.
Especially when it gets close to the end, like they're going to get more money from a person when they, in the middle of the project or they start the project. So sometimes they spread themselves too thin, and then they'll take a little bit longer to get to your project. And that's what always seems to us. It's like the finishing work always seems to take the longest, and just putting that in there where they're going to be penalized monetarily for going over if it's their fault and they're just not showing up, then that hitting their pocket, they're going to get out there and finish up their job with you before they put too much on their plate. So that does work. And I'm going to share the screen because we're going to show you and go through our scope of work that we use and go down the line, kind of explain how we do it and show you.
And our very first scope of work, so our mentor kind of threw us into it. We were going to wholesale a house, and it was a paint and putty kind of house where it wasn't that much to it. I can barely swing a hammer, and we don't come from the real estate world. And basically he said, hey, let's flip this one, let's do a scope of work. And we're like, what's a scope of work? We had to Google it, we had to figure out one, we had to find one. But at the end of the day, you just kind of figure those things out. So that was our very first one. And we talked a little bit about that last week, if you were on, about that was the one where the drunk guy showed up, that he definitely was not our contractor. So this is a scope of work that we
Can everybody see our screen?
Not yet.
Oh, I thought I shared the screen. Shoot.
technology.
Uh-oh. I gotta go back to Zoom.
Are we still on?
Oh,
Hit-
oh, I
click
forgot to
up-
hit the share.
click up
I have to
there.
hit share right here, right?
Hmm.
Oh,
Okay.
now we see it.
Oh, let me get back to. Open it.
That awkward moment and
Oh my
things don't
goodness.
pop up. So, and you want your scope of work, some other things that we can talk about. You want your scope of work to be very
That's not
specific.
the one I wanted.
So, that's one thing we've learned, that, if you want a certain amount of windows you have to put. I want 5 windows. You can't just put windows throughout. If you want anything you have to do, you have to be specific, and they should want you to be specific too, because you can't just, expect them to know what you want. So is it up?
Yep, it's right here. This is a property that we had 3 years ago.
Yep,
It was a nice size condo in Bradenton, Florida. That's about probably 20 minutes north of Sarasota where we live. And this is like the scope of work that we use. This one is a general carpentry. When we have other scope of works, if it's more concise, where we're doing one thing like a roof or something, or HVAC, but this one is like a general scope of work that kind of covers everything. This one's our favorite one that we use. And we didn't have any exterior on this one because it was a condo, but then the general interior, you start out with that, and then you get intricate as you go down the line with this particular form that we use. And you can see on the one side, it's got the paint, interior walls, ceiling, windows, screens, insulation. Then on the other side, I just do like punch list items: install drywall, trim throughout. And we're very specific, like Jane said, 2 coats of flat paint on the ceilings, 2 coats of semi-gloss on all walls, white satin paint on the doors and trim. We even go as far, usually this one, the contractor that we used, he knows what colors we like for the walls. So we didn't do, on this one, we did one called an agreeable gray. If we use a grayscale, it's agreeable gray. If we use the browns and beiges, it's Gobi beige.
Thank God we don't use that anymore.
Well, it's starting to come back again. So, and then like you see how intricate we are because we've learned the hard way. Standard switch plates, sometimes they mess up the wall around it and put the big gaudy oversized switch plates to cover up their work if they're not precise. So you really have to add exactly what you want in there, because if it's not in there, they're not going to do it, and then you have to go and do a change order and
pay more
and pay extra. So you see this like lock on the screen door. I know it seems kind of redundant, but and then we have it down to like, here's the living room, and add everything you want in the living room, replace the linoleum with luxury vinyl, ceiling fan with lighted. We just, go down.
And even something like the ceiling fan, that can be important, because if you don't say it or replace the ceiling fan with a lighted fan, then you're going to get a ceiling fan. And, most people want that light in their ceiling fan now. So, again, just to be specific with even those little details.
And we had to add patch or repair walls and caulk. We've had them go over and just paint everything and not do the patch and repair. So as we went along and we learned more, we realized you have to really put every little detail in the scope of works. And then, and you see how it has kitchen, living room, dining room, kitchen, every, let's see if there's anything, remove cabinets and all that. And then a lot of times I'll even put on here the soft close cabinets, or if there's certain cabinets that I like using, I'll say the Home Depot cabinets, and then have the number, the model number on there. So sometimes I get particular with even model numbers and such. And there was no hall and family room.
And we're not mostly rehabbers. That is not our forte. So we're not out here rehabbing, 3-4 houses a month or whatever. So this, predominantly a lot of this is our rentals and, things that we'll buy and then, lease option out. But the couple of flips that we have done, and I think, we've probably done around 7 or 8, 9, something like that. You just have to be specific and you learn as you go. Our first one wasn't very good. The second one was, half a disaster. We've always made some money, but we could have made more just because the specifics of the scope of work were not done right. And we didn't, and then you feel sorry for the contractor. So you don't always charge them, even though like now we'll just charge them. So it's just kind of those kind of things.
Exactly. Yeah. Um, and then there's the bedrooms. It's got several bedrooms. Then you just do NA for the ones. I just like that because it's already pre-filled out and you just fill in the blanks and add to it.
Can you guys read it all right? It's hard to tell with nobody on camera. We don't bite, you can talk.
Oh, does somebody have something in the chat? Oh, yes. Thank you, Nick. And then this one, actually, the one bathroom, we didn't have them. We actually asked them to replace the vanity, and it is written on here. And they didn't replace the vanity, they just repaired it. And the vanity was a strange height. It
Yeah.
went down too low. It was like very, very short. And then they had to go back and replace it because it's on the scope. But sometimes, especially there's times where the contractor will want to do their own scope of work. Now, when that happens, we put our scope of work with their scope of work and like combine the two and have all parties sign both of them, because they'll leave things like that out, or they'll write replace/repair. And if, you know, so, and they'll just repair it instead of replace it. And that's what they actually did here. But we had the verbiage, the replace here. So then they had to actually put the regular vanity in there with the right size. So it's, you know, they're tricky sometimes. They'll try to get you.
And contractors, obviously, they're trying to make their money as well. So if they can get away with, you know, repairing, they're going to try to do that if they can make it look, you know. But if you really want it replaced, and depending on the contractor, you know, like we talk about our guy in Indiana, you know, we give him some leeway as to what he can do, you know, cheapest and look the best. So if he comes to us and says, hey, I can just sand these cabinets down and make them look really good, then we're going to go with what he thinks, and it's going to be cheaper for us and cheaper for him.
And like, if we do say replace/repair and they agree, replace and repair. And then if they try to repair and it doesn't look right, then we can go back and say that, no, you have to replace it. So always have back out clause. And we use this block a lot in Florida, the basement. And then service the HVAC, you know, we always have like service the
Yeah, like for any of your systems, you can have service, and then that way they can come back to you and say, hey, this doesn't work, or, you know, it'd probably be better to replace the HVAC, especially down here. We go through air conditions like crazy. They don't last as long, certainly, as they do up north.
Yeah, a lot of
They
the
work hard.
and things that are on the outside don't last as long. Well, the HVAC, it's being used all year long instead of the summer months. And also there's so much salt water in the air, it deteriorates a lot of the outside systems. And then we have conditions to our scope of work. Oops, let me put this up here so I can see it. Oh, my goodness. Just thought it would go up here. That's all right. Oh, there we go. Okay. Yeah, if there's any omissions, then like you do a change order if they see something that needs to be done. If they go in and to change out filters or look at plumbing or open up walls and you see more problems or, you know, damage in there, then they have to bring it to your attention and then agree on a price and do a change order, which is added to the original scope of work where other work would be added. And of course, it would be more money that, you know, you'd have to pay for that part of it too.
And they can't just they can't just go fix it and then call you and ask us how we know, because that happens, you know. And when you're new, they'll do that a lot instead of, and even on estimates, we've gotten that, you know, it's kind of like they know what they can get away with, and they'll kind of say, well, you know, we will have to open the wall. So you know that they're probably going to open the wall and tell you something. So you just have to make that perfectly clear. Don't go in and fix stuff until you let us know.
And of course, you know, before they you know, we want to see pictures, videos when we're not there to just to, you know, prove that, you know, they can't just say something's wrong and then put the wall back over it. They got to, you know, we always have to have evidence of the issues, the problems, what's going on.
And that's like more important for us because we do things virtually. So the videos and the pictures are something that we depend on, or FaceTime. A lot of times it's, you know, it's on FaceTime. There's so many different, you know, digital formulas here that you can use. There's no excuse for just, oh, I didn't take a picture or I didn't do this. You can have a drone fly by the roof, you know, if they say they can't climb up there. So there's many avenues for them to send you what you need to verify the work.
And number 5, you know, all labor, every knob, screw, nail, material, it's included, or because we've heard other people where the contractors ended up charging extra for little, you know, knobs and screws and everything. Oh, the doors cost this much, and then turn around and charge you more for the door knobs. So we've made sure we tried to add everything to it. I know it looks, you know, when we first talk to contractors and get them involved and they see this scope of work, sometimes it's intimidating for them, but we just talk to them and explain to them, you know, we're not out to burn you and we don't want to get burned. So this is protecting everybody. So, you know, they come around and then this one's a biggie, number 6. There's so many times where we've went to the house in the middle of the rehab in the evening hours just to see what's been done. And there is trash, dirt, debris, materials laying all over the inside and the outside of the house. It's a mess. And we've noticed the better contractors, the ones that clean up and broom sweep after themselves every day.
And we talked about that a little bit last week with, you know, that's one of the important things to us because we don't want stuff laying around and then you have the code people and the neighbors call and complain. And so that's always a good sign of a good contractor that they broom sweep before they go.
And number 7, this is what I was talking about. If they go past their time frame, then we charge usually $50 a day is usually what we put in there to charge them. Just keep them honest, make sure they're going to complete the work on a timely manner.
And the reason you do that is, you know, especially in the flipping world or even the rental world, because you're depending on if that house needs to be on the market in 3 months and you've given yourself that time, you know, you might miss the market. And a lot of people felt that pain with contractors this year because they didn't get the work done. And then there's that small window that, you know, the market changed and that $1 million house that didn't get done on time is now only worth 900,000. Nobody's buying it and it's sitting longer. So that's money in your pocket when it sits longer. And the rental, you know, if it's supposed to be done by, say, March 20th, and you're going to have a new renter in there April 1st, and they don't get done till April 15th, you've lost that renter and you've lost rent. So.
And then up north, there's certain times a year where the houses sell better, like in the spring, well, or I'm sorry, in the late summer, early fall, that people want to be in their houses for their kids to start school in the new year. So usually from when the weather gets nice in the spring through the summer is a good time. So
you don't want to go on market on Thanksgiving weekend because that's not. It's going to be sitting.
Ask us how we know. It happened to us before.
Hey, Jan and Sharon, Mark is asking, are you using a software or Excel file for the scope of work?
We do not. We just use this contract and do, or you mean a software to see how much things cost, the cost of materials and prices? Is that what he means? Or
Mark, I'm not sure. So, he's saying, is it on a Word file?
Yes, this is on a Word file. It is. Kind of cut and paste on the Word file.
Okay, awesome.
And a lot of times we'll let our contractors do their scope of work and then give it to us. And then, you know, and we obviously did this more when we were brand new because like half the time we didn't know what things needed to be fixed. So it was just good to see what they saw as opposed to what we saw because they certainly saw a lot more. And then, you know, as time goes on, you get more comfortable with things. And so basically they do their scope of work to see what they think is important. And then, you know, we see if we're going to be a good fit for what they want to do and how we want the house to look.
And we
So
do, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. So have you guys ever actually charged for the going overtime to a contractor? Have you guys actually done it?
We have not yet. We have not had.
No.
I'm telling
Have you ever done an
nowadays,
incentive program?
Yeah.
Because I've done both, and I don't know. I don't think any of them worked really, but and I would never charge them. I put it in there, but I never would do it. But I tried an incentive program as well, and yeah, I don't know. I thought it was a great idea, but it didn't. I don't think it really got any traction. It didn't really help. To be honest with you.
Yeah, we do know somebody that has charged them, and I don't know that that was their contractor again, but they did charge them because they were way, and at some point you just like, you got to get the work done. So you either, get the work done and we're going to take X amount of dollars from you, or we're just going to fire you. You're not going to get any more of the money.
Yeah, and then their name goes out to other people, so it's not good for them. When you do the incentive program, what's the incentive amount?
So it's pretty significant. I don't remember exactly. I have it on a thing here, but it goes by week, and just like you, I give a grace period of what they say when they think it's going to be done, and typically it's about 3 months or something like that. I add 2 weeks just as a grace, and then anything after that per week, it's something like him as the GC gets something like $1,000, and then each of the guys get $500.
Wow.
And then so it ends up being something like $5,000 at the end of the day. But what I did was, basically looked at what is it costing me all, in very rough numbers, but what is it costing me in the end if we go over a month and a half in this project, which isn't atypical, especially in the past couple of years. So let's split that cost. Where are we? So that's kind of how I
Perfect.
broke
smart.
that down.
Yeah,
that's very smart.
But yeah, but the actual incentive thing, yeah, I thought it was going to go over really well, but
I would have thought so
not
too.
that it's terrible, but I don't know. It didn't really put a fire under anybody's butt, that's for sure. And it was a lot of money too.
Yeah, I think one of the things that work for us is the surprise visits. And usually when we do a surprise visit, it's a little bit before lunchtime. We'll take pizzas, but that knows, they know that we're going to just show up whenever. So, we had a contractor that said he was going to be doing a lot of the work on Saturday and Sunday, probably. And it wasn't like it was permitted work. It was just, he worked full time for a company at whatever, Home Depot or something. So then he wanted to do the contracting on the weekend. So just showing up with, some pizzas for him and the guys, and then they know like, hey, I'm going to stop in and check on you to make sure you're actually showing up on Saturday and Sunday. So I think, and sometimes it's showing up with gift cards or pizza. Sometimes they're like, all right, well, or, maybe just talking to them, a little bit of respect, and then they kind of like you better. So they'll do your job better.
Yeah, it seems to work better with us.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, the arbitration, we have one there. And of course, we usually, like Jane said, just fire them and get somebody else before it goes to that. But have the verbiage on here in case you never know. And then we get them to give us references and phone calls.
And like we talked about last week, actually call those people. So, just don't say, okay, they had 3 references, actually call them and then drive past some of their previous work.
So you've got number 10, which says a contractor will return within 12 months after occupancy. When I was doing flips, I didn't have that in there, but I did have contractors come back. Have you had to have contractors come back on your flips?
Yeah, we actually have. Yep.
And they seem to be okay about it. They, were very apologetic and came back and took care of what they had to take care of. We never really had any pushback. Have you, James?
No, actually, I used one contractor for a long time. And we had a really good relationship. So it ended up being okay. I mean, I think one was even like a year and a half afterwards. He went in and fixed something, like I think it was a wall that cracked or something.
Wow.
Yeah, I think once you find a couple good contractors and you just work well together, like most of the big problems go away. It's just finding that one.
Yep.
Yeah, the one that sees the big picture, that you're going to work with them down the road. Like our contractor in Indiana, he has worked on commercial he's worked with, in
Hotels
hotels
and-
and industries and all, and he was good. And then he went off to, and he's an investor on his own. Plus he he's a contractor for, just, regular single family homes and maybe smaller multifamilies, maybe 10 and under. And, we work with him, like we'll JV with him. If he says he needs extra capital, can we, get in, split it and then split profits. We work with him. He had needed a couple units and we found units for him and helped him fix them up, and he's paying us like on owner finance lease option. So he's a really good guy, and we work with him. Once you get a good one, you want to hold on to him. But then other times we've thought we've had some good contractors, and then they're good until they're not. They work and it's awesome, and then for some reason they just fall out. I guess a lot of you have experienced that too, where
Life happens.
yeah, like think it's gonna, the honeymoon stage is over or whatnot. And
Do they have an expiration date? Is that what they're saying?
sometimes I'm telling you, it's like so far a guy in Indiana it's been 3 years, which is great.
Wow, awesome.
And then we had one up in Maryland that followed us down to Florida, and he's been pretty good. And we've been giving him other jobs too, because a lot of investors I've noticed are very tight-lipped with their contractors. I guess they don't want to spread them out, and then they
And burn 'em out.
and burn them out, and then they don't have them for their flips. But we've actually given him other work down here, so he's happy. We kind of spread the wealth so he makes the money too. And I guess, should I show Javier's contract?
Yeah.
Let me see.
So that's one that we did down here, which was and that was an easier flip. It wasn't really a lot of heavy lifting with the roof and all that, because it was a condo, obviously.
Oh, I don't have this one.
I think we're gonna try to pull up another one. Technology's getting in the
I
way
know I'm
again.
not used to doing this part.
Any questions on that particular one, or
I thought I had it up already.
we're gonna have to give some incentive to get some cameras on here.
Oh, here.
So Jane and Sharon, I'm curious, have you guys found any other creative ways to invest with your contractors? Aside from just the contractor and investor relationship, they do work for you, you pay them money kind of relationship, ones that want to get into investing and see that whole side, but just never really quite get it together, but great contractors.
Yeah, that's what, so our one guy, we have, he brought the house, we brought the money, and then we split the profits.
So I guess my question with that would be, what benefit is that to anybody? As opposed to just doing it in the same relationship where he makes money as a contractor and you make money on the investment side.
Because he's going to make a little bit more money because of the sale of the house.
Okay, so it'd be
I
more
don't
money.
remember. Yeah, I don't remember the exact numbers. I think he got the house for maybe 20, 25. I think we put maybe 30 in it and we sold it for 150. So obviously he's going to make, I'd have to pull that one up. I don't remember exactly, but obviously he's going to make a lot more than if we just paid him, to do a $25,000 rehab. Then we had, and then a couple other houses that we have, and one was a burnout. So it got burned down. We got insurance money. We did a lease option with him because he can fix it. Gave him a really good price on it because we already got paid out with the insurance company. He's going to fix it and use it as a rental. So, we were fine. He's going to make money, and then he's going to have a rental as part of his portfolio. And then another house we had, he was looking for a place to store some tools and stuff. So we did a lease option on it. He can make payments, which is going to be easier on him than trying to buy a house outright. He can do a little bit of the fixing and it was a rental that the renters, tore it up a little bit. So he knew what that was. He can fix it up, and then he's going to have another rental for his portfolio. So, maybe it's a disadvantage to us, but in the long run, we just have such a great guy. We want to help him get his stuff going for his family. And, he would do anything for us. So it's good for both of us.
I feel like there's enough to go around, and we JV with people, help them out, work together. And then, hopefully in return, we'll, all help each other out and work together and bring each other up.
So sometimes you'll lease option to them
Mhm,
as one strategy. Yeah, yeah.
right. That's, oh, and
So
I-
I'm curious, in all of your lease options, and I'm sorry for digressing. We're not talking anything about the scope of work right
oh,
now, so
that's
I'm
right.
sorry.
No,
Right, no problem.
we're over our 15 minutes anyway. Holy cow.
But so when you're doing all these lease options, what percentage typically do you think actually perform on that option?
When we do the lease options and owner finances, we try to do it where we don't want to set them up to fail.
Sure,
So
sure.
we get, we also kind of help them out and work, you know, a lot of people that we bring in on lease options are, they've never owned a house before, might
Yeah.
be younger. So we kind of hold their hand and help them out for the first 3
Mhm.
months or so and show them, you know, explain to them, teach them what it's like to be a homeowner and the things you have to do. So I feel like we have more success when we do that, and
Yeah,
people
yeah.
tend to stay. That we tend to have some longevity. And the ones who, you know, we give them so much respect and work with them that if they have to leave, they just hand over the house, say thank
Sure.
you, and they go, you know, and they go and do what they have to do. And we tell them that if they, you know, get their life together and want to
Mhm.
do it again down the road, then, you know, come back to us and maybe we can get you into another house and help them out. And, you
Mhm.
know, of course they have to pay an option fee up front, or, you know, if they're doing owner finance or option, you know, they're going to pay some sort of down payment or an option fee, and they waive that when they leave, and they understand that. So,
Yeah, yeah,
you know, so,
absolutely.
and we just put somebody else in the house, but, you know, it's a win-win either way for us, but we're not in the market to have turnover like that. We want the longevity, the people be in there, own their own house and enjoy it, and it worked for them. So
I would say our percentage is pretty good. I'm trying to
think it
think
is.
of who all's left, and one was left due to a domestic situation. So there was no, it wasn't, you know, anything on a default. And the other one defaulted a little bit, but because they wanted a bigger house, and you know,
Yeah.
it's just they
So-
defaulted, but they left the house, and it turned out to be good for us because we turned around and we just did a retail sale. So we fixed it up a little bit and then sold it and made a lot more than we would have on the lease option. So,
Because that was when the market was high. And
so
then
they're the two I can
and then
think of.
another couple, they were just getting into the house and they haven't really completely got in there yet. And they were going,
Yeah.
then he decided to leave her and they were going through a divorce. So we didn't even
Nice.
take their option money because
Yeah,
it was like a month, and we just kind of gave it back to them, let them go. So other than that, we've had really good success. And like Will,
I'm gonna knock on wood.
I know
yeah,
through the years with things, like if it's problem that, you know, is sincere, like one couple, the lady had a heart attack, so
Yeah.
we just put the money, you know, the payments on the back end, and, you know, helped them out, or just, you know, let them defer a month and worked it
Mhm.
out later, and then they could, you know, pay it back later. So we try to, you know, we don't, if they're taking advantage, that's one thing, but if somebody's
Yeah.
really in a hardship and needs some help, then we'll work something out with them. So
And you'll still have some debt on these properties, right? Long-term debt
right.
on some of these properties that you'll lease option out.
Yeah, like an example, we will pick up a house for, say, 25,000. We'll do a little bit of work to it, but a lot of times when we put them in there, the finishing work and the added touches, then we have the family go in there and do it. So we might, you know, get a house, we might be all in for like 35,000 maybe. The ARV might be 100,000. We'll sell it to them for 80,000, and then we'll get private money on the lower amount for maybe 8%, and then their percentage, if it's a owner finance, it'll be 10%, or lease option, of course, it's an option fee, and then we'll sell them the house, like I said, for we still have, you know, we usually, if they have to do some work on it, we'll give them a spread on it. We're not going to charge them
Mhm. Yeah, yeah,
the top dollar for the house.
yeah.
Because then they had built-in equity, and the goal is to get them to refinance out anyway. So
It's easier for them.
take their option, go to the bank and get it when the interest rates are good. Now it's going to be interesting because the interest rates are obviously higher for them, and you know, most people come to us with less than credit, so then that makes it
Yeah,
even
yeah.
higher. So it'll make it harder to
And we've helped
do
them
that.
build their credit, and then help them find a financial institution that'll refinance out of it. So we help them different ways along the way, and
Excellent.
seems to help with.
Excellent. Excellent.
Did you pull up the other scope of work?
Oh, it didn't go
It
through.
did go through.
Yeah. Oh,
We-
another thing I wanted to add with the scope of work, don't pay it all out at the very end when they're saying they're finished. Hold back 10% and then do a walkthrough. And then once they complete the items on that list with the walkthrough, then give them the rest of the money. Because, you know, a lot of times there's little things that you'll have to go through and have them fix up and clean up. That's not to your liking. So, and if we don't like to pay them up front any money, we do a draw program, give them a third, and then hold the 10% back until everything's completed. But if we absolutely have to give them any kind of money up front before they start, it's strictly for materials. We don't pay any of the work until it's completed. So. And I know on the scope of work we have that we won't put any money up front, but there's been times, you know, we try to find contractors that are established, that they have money, that, you know, they're not relying on each job to, you know, pay their crew. But every once in a while we'll, you know, work with somebody who's just starting out, try to give them a chance, and then we'll, you know, throw money their way for the materials or something until they get going. But I think, did we?
Yeah, I think so.
Does anybody else have any other questions or?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, hi, Yen here. I have a couple questions. One, how did you find all those good contractors out of state? Let's say if you don't know anybody in the state that you're investing, how did you find those good guys? Good guys, I mean, good contractors.
Yeah, I think we talked about this a little bit last week, but you know, like the one in Indiana was pure luck. Like I can't even say that we did a whole, you know, it was a whole big thing. It was a friend of ours was working on a house and his contractor was horrible. But they were just about done that house, and we had already purchased the house and was looking for a contractor. And he said, "Hey, there's a guy down the street. Let me go talk to him." Just, you know, had a really good conversation with him, had a really good feel for him. You know, did a Zoom with him, liked that he had his paperwork, liked his scope of work, and just kind of hit it off. So pure luck, but then kind of what we talked about, research, do the phone interview, I mean, we didn't do it in person, just kind of Zoom. Again, some of the guys in Maryland were just referrals. So we got a referral, and then, you know, we like to start them out with small jobs, you know, and then just a smaller job, and then, you know, kind of build them up, see what their paperwork's like, see what their time zone's like, if they're going to get things done on time. And, you know, Florida, we've had a little bit of a challenge with just, you know, we have a good rent guy, and we have a good flip guy, but, you know, they're always busy. So it's, you know, you kind of have to weigh that, and they have a really hard time of finding people. But you know, and then we've had some in other states that it didn't work out so well.
And that is a good point. A lot of times you'll get contractors that could do quality work that'll be, you know, rehab ready. And then, like she was saying, we got a guy that he's pretty much does things rent ready. He doesn't do the extra special touches for market sales, and he says he can, but a lot of times if you get guys that are just good at rehab and the rentals, that's pretty much their lane they're going to stay in. So that's another good point Jane made. Sometimes you have to have different contractors for different things that you want done and different levels of work.
So do you actually physically go in and inspect, you know, those rehabs?
If we don't do it, we get other people too. Like if we're doing work from afar, then we pay somebody or get somebody else on our team to go in there. And like when we inspect the work, especially at the end, when we're doing the punch list items, we actually have sticky notes and we put them in the areas where we need them to fix and write a little note of what needs to be done. And we have the contractors also take videos, take pictures. And we've learned also from other people that you know, you have to take a picture of the house first and the address and then go inside, because they've had a contractor take a video or a picture of a house that was similar to theirs that wasn't theirs, and they didn't actually get theirs fixed. It was the you know, the work that they did down the street. So, you know, and or we do FaceTime with them
Mhm.
if we need to, but we also always have either ourselves or an independent person go in to check the work.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Of course.
As Roy is asking, is it possible to share the scope of work document?
Yeah, I think we could probably put that in the resources part of the academy.
So Roy, what you would do is you would just go to Virtual REI Academy, and in the upper right-hand corner, there's a tab for resources, and there's a tab for non-members, and there's a tab for members. And we'll put this on the non-member tab, so you'll be able to go there next week at some point and just download it for yourself and, you know, adjust it, do whatever you want to do.
Great, thank you.
Mhm.
Can you put the link to the
Yeah, sure.
REI Academy, please?
So I did have a question, actually. When you're, actually, let me type this in real quick.
Oh, you're doing the link. Thank you, James. We always make you do the hard parts.
Well, I'm a really bad typist. I'm always afraid I'm gonna do it wrong. So when you're doing your scope of work, and you talked about, we have these two colors that we use all the time, right? This specific gray color, I don't know what's Sherwin-Williams or whatever it may be, or it's the tan color that's coming back, right? We'll see. This is the specific color that we want. So do you do the same thing for, like, you know, I only want whole faucets, or, you know, these are the window brands that we use, you know, or things like that? Do you have like a set model or brand that you tell them, this is what I want? Because I can just imagine somebody walking in and you're walking after them going, oh my God, where'd they get this fan? Like, it's like a $4 fan, you know, kind of thing.
If they do have their own that they use, because our contractor in Indiana, he just goes and gets, if he finds decent ones, he'll buy them in a good price. He'll buy them in bulk, and he'll have them sit in a warehouse, or, you know, stock them up. So we do, if they do have theirs, we want to know what the quality is. We want to, you know, have them tell us the model number so we can look it up ourselves. But usually, you know, we'll work that way. If they have a certain product that they use, we make sure that it you know, it suits our needs, and it's the quality that we expect. So, but
Okay, great.
usually the paint is what we were more specific about. But there are a lot of other rehabbers that will be very specific. They want this brand, they want this type, they want, you know, with the cabinet, especially the cabinets and the vanities for the, because what they say, the kitchens and the bathrooms sell the most. So you really want that to pop.
And the windows down here, we have to be specific with the, you know, it's hurricane impact, because if you're redoing a whole house, you don't want, you know, kind of crappy windows and with whatever. So, and
it's state law that once, anyway, if somebody does try to get away with having less than desirable windows, the lower grade windows, if you're rehabbing it over 50%, state law requires you to add those windows to it, the hurricane impact, the wind impact windows. So
Cool. Thank you.
I see. Well, this is a Sufi. I see. I got a question about the, I guess, the bird, wondering how you get the scope of work from long distance, from I guess from houses in other state. I guess sometimes it may be hard to gauge what scope of work is needed when people are not actually there. Even from the photos, there may be some other thing that's hidden.
Sure. I think, you know, we just really depend on, we typically have an affinity for an area. So whether that be a contractor we already worked with, family, obviously we're from Maryland, so we have a ton of people. I can, any place in Maryland, we pretty much have somebody that can go take a look at a house, do a walkthrough, do FaceTime with us, or just in the contracting business that would go take a look at a house for us, or they have some kind of things. Other states that we, typically if we don't have an affinity, if we don't have boots on the ground, if we don't have somebody we really trust, we don't do a full out rehab. We might, buy the house and then lease option it to a contractor who's going to go ahead and do that rehab. But we're not going to do a full gut rehab from afar with no boots on the ground. So it's always, we have somebody there that's intelligent enough to tell us what's wrong with the house. We FaceTime with them, and then we can develop a scope of work, and then we'll have a couple contractors do a scope of work. And obviously if one contractor goes in and says, oh, it just needs paint, and the other one says it's a full gut, that's obviously a big discrepancy. And then, we're going to depend on videos and FaceTime for those kind of things.
And if we did something huge or something that we weren't really comfortable with, we would try to do like a JV with somebody that's another investor that's there in the area that could do that portion of it. So.
And at the end of the day, we always know that we might have to jump on a plane. Like if things go south in Indiana, guess what? We're flying into Chicago and taking a car to Gary to see what's going on, or Maryland. It's wherever we have something, we know that we may eventually have to jump a plane and go to Starkville, Mississippi, or wherever that may be that we have a house.
Georgia, we've went to different areas with houses when we've had issues, but.
Does that help?
Okay, yes, all right, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
So all those properties, did you guys get it through a broker? Do you guys just find them online?
Yeah, we predominantly love the HUD Home Store, which the last 2 years has not been so good. But Hudson and Marshall, Craigslist, Facebook, we've done very little through a real estate agent or a broker. So
wholesalers.
Yeah, just wholesalers. Predominantly auctions are our forte.
And we've done like direct marketing too, or people that we know will reach out to us from previous job or careers or whatever. They'll reach out to us and give us opportunity for a house they want to unload on us. So different ways, but our favorite is the
love the
auction bank-owned type of houses. That's our.
For sale by owners, did you?
We typically don't get a lot from them because they just want too much for their house. We've not been able to talk them down off their number. Again, and some of why we go virtually is Sarasota people just lost their mind. So people were coming from New York paying $100,000 over ask, no inspection, all cash, whatever. So that just like, no matter what we're going to buy, right? We're going to buy probably 65 cents on the dollar or less. Most of the houses we get 40 cents on the dollar. So I'm just not going to deviate from, what we're going to pay for a house. We're going to make sure that we always buy it right. And we've seen a lot of people, I'm sure James can speak to that got caught up in the madness here. And now they're, especially in multifamily. I heard so many stories about that, and we're not in multifamily, but it's kind of like they way overpaid. So now what are they going to do? They're going to have to refinance. It's going to be a higher interest rate. They way overpaid. And now what are they going to do? They're just going to walk away because they're not going to be able to afford it.
I have never done the auction. I've been to a few, but those people, they were crazy.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you guys are crazy, but I'm just saying, most
we might be, but yeah, it's I really like Hudson and Marshall. And again, we went to that because it's nationwide. So the HUD Home Store, we're a little bit more deliberate, as in the markets of Florida, Maryland, and Georgia. So if I can find an agent in every state, then I would bid in every state. But it's like you have to find that special agent that'll help you out with the HUD Home Store. But Hudson and Marshall, I can just go on there and bid and
There's Zoom. How do you say
yeah,
it? It's
XOME is another one. There's a
So-
lot of good stuff on that.
So we, we like not like, unfortunately, like you're saying with the FSBOs, the for sale by owners, they compare their houses to other ones that are not the right comparison. Though, like the house up the street sold for X. Well, you got a 2-bedroom, 1,000 square foot. They have a 4-bedroom, 2,000 square foot. But of course, you have to talk to them, and like negotiate with them, talk to them,
And tax liens are another one. And if we're extra special lucky, we might be able to get Joanne Musa, who's the tax lien lady. We might be able to get her on maybe for one Tuesday. She's taught us a lot about the tax liens. We don't particularly like them because we want the house. Like we don't really want just the residual 18% or whatever for a year. So we actually try to go after the house. So we were working with a guy actually out of country in England, and I think we probably put in for maybe 20, and we didn't get one house. So that wasn't like our, at the end of the day, we're like, we wanted the house because they were a lot of like good houses that we would have got.
And if we do any of those, we'd rather go after the tax deeds instead of the tax liens, because then you'll be more apt to get the house. But even that is pretty tight. But she is like, there's so many other investors out there who's gotten into programs with gurus and people that specialized in tax liens and tax deeds, and they took their money and they ran. And Joanne, she's like the real deal. She'll takes, she's very loyal. She's devoted. She takes care of people. She cares, and she won't steer people wrong. She has her program solid.
If anybody's interested in that, just let me know. I'll probably try to talk her into coming on if that's something you guys would be interested in hearing about, tax liens and deeds.
Because she knows how to do them all over the country. She's has done them for years and years and gotten herself proficient in learning a lot of different states throughout the country.
So I have another question.
Sure.
I guess confusing mind says no. I guess that applies to me because I have thought about doing the auction stuff like that, and I went to a couple of them, and they told me that you can't see a house before you buy it. Don't you think that's a little bit risky?
That's why we bid so low, where we're we have like a safety blanket. We're very conservative with our bids when we buy auctions. And one good thing about the HUD Home Store is they have
Yeah, we kind of talked about that. We can throw it back.
Yeah, what is it? I'm having a brain cramp, but they offer that where they tell you what the property condition report. Oh my goodness. Getting loud. Just had a little brain cramp, where they offer the issues and the problems and what's wrong with the house. So it's not always 100%. And also, we have gotten into houses you're not supposed to. I'm not going to say anymore. We have our ways to get inside.
Hypothetically, other people have gotten into. Yeah, there might be a set of keys out there called HUD keys or something.
Like that get you into some bank-owned houses.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if somebody told me, I guess they said, you would never know what's underneath the foundation. It could be like some kind of old gas stations underneath the house, and they might maybe like some kind of gas leak or some whatever chemical stuff under your house or whatever. Now you had to spend a ton of money to clean it up. I'm like, well, they don't let you to inspect the house or somebody actually know what's going on with the house. And before I bid on it, I'm like, no. So I guess I don't know too much about this stuff.
Yeah, I think people try to scare you. It's like if you do your research, and a lot of it's just everything is at your fingertips online. So if you run a house address and you see that a gas station was in the area, okay, maybe, or if a gas station pops up at that same place, or there's different things. But I think research will kind of lead the way with most things, and as long as you do your due diligence, then you're kind of okay.
And there's like if it is like another type of foundation issue where the foundation's crumbling or something.
Yeah,
there's some telltale signs like jagged lines going up the side of the house, or
Mhm.
the house looks a little lopsided. You can kind of, if a house just doesn't look right or kind of has these jagged lines, and especially the thicker jagged lines, then run. We don't deal with foundation issues, but I see what you're saying, like get more environmental stuff, which
Yeah,
Guys,
you.
we have a hard stop at 8:30, which is 8:29 right now. I put the YouTube link up there for you guys for the YouTube channel. So if you want to see this one again, that kind of thing, or whatever it is, there's also the previous Teaching Tuesdays that we've done. There's not a lot of them because we just started this, but it's a good resource for you. Yeah, the scope of work will be on the Academy website under free resources some point next week. So you can go there and download it. And there's some other stuff you might want to take a look at as well.
And next week, we're going to have a special guest. We wanted to bring somebody in that's very proficient at Section 8. So Miss Sandy Pullen will be in. She's out of Georgia, but she's also handled some properties in Florida and different areas. So very experienced with Section 8. She has a lot of good tips and tricks, do's and don'ts. And hopefully everybody can be on, and maybe put your cameras on, and we'll do a little incentive next week that you keep your cameras on. Maybe we'll do a half hour with us, and you can ask us anything, or we can help you out with anything.
bring friends. She is a
Yeah, bring
dynamic
friends.
speaker
She's a
and
good speaker. She's
very intelligent with she's great person.
Awesome. All right, guys. Thank you for attending. Hopefully you got some value, and we will see you hopefully next week. We'll talk to you
Thanks,
soon.
everybody. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Have a great night.
You too.